Hey, what's up? I'm Marc Horowitz. Releasing an NFT tonight. It's my first. It'll be the first on Delphi as well. And it's going to be at idxm.io. So it's very exciting. So I thought I should just sort of tell you who I am, take you around my studio. This creepy guy behind me. There he is. I actually bought that guy to keep me company during Corona. Anyhow, so who am I? Why am I doing NFTs, etc., etc., etc.? I made some notes so I don't forget things. So let's just go way back, way back to when I was a kid. I was born with a blood disorder called hereditary spherocytosis, and it's very rare. But I spent the first 6 years of my life pretty much in and out of hospitals, getting transfusions. I wasn't very well. I'm just gonna take a couple laps around the studio while I'm talking, and I might not make eye contact. And I really honestly don't know if I should look at the screen or the camera or just off screen. It's kind of like one of those things, like what do you do with your hands when you're shooting? That sort of Will Ferrell move. Like, do you have them up here or down here? I don't know. Anyhow, so blood disorder, I was in hospital. So really all I could do was draw and just make weird stuff from my hospital bed. So that's kind of where I got, I don't know, I guess my drawing experience, my art love was from back then. And I won an art contest in the hospital. It was a big deal. I still have the drawing. It's upstairs in the house. It's of a skeleton. Anyhow, so eventually when I was 6, I could have my spleen removed, and then I was okay. So this blood disorder, basically, it's your body fights itself. It's an autoimmune disorder. So, my spleen was thinking that all my blood cells were bad, so it was eating them all. And I had I looked like the doughboy or something. I had a really distended gut, and I just looked rather unhealthy. And then they took out my spleen. I'm gonna sit down. This is gonna be a lot easier. I feel like I'm walking a small marathon in the studio. So here we go. I'm gonna try to do this carefully. Sweet. If this is annoying, this thing just moving around, say something. Anyhow, so blood disorder, spleen removed. It was a neighborhood bully, actually. I remember when I got my spleen removed, and I came over in the hospital, and he actually punched me in the gut. Like, who does that? I mean, just the world is full of interesting little critters, isn't it? So got my spleen removed. I was okay. I began to have kind of a normal childhood, and I started taking art classes in this woman's basement. This is in Westerville, Ohio, actually, a very small sort of suburb of Columbus. And I just, it was just amazing. Her name was Laura Joseph. I mean, she's an incredible person. And she's still around, and we're still actually in touch, which is really, really cool. So then kind of fast forward a little bit. I moved around 30 or 40 times as a kid. My mom had really tenuous jobs, and it wasn't easy for her, especially because I was ill, and it just was very, very complicated. At one point we were in Cleveland, Ohio, and she was managing a group home and teaching in a prison. It was pretty tough. We then moved to Sacramento eventually after she got remarried, and I didn't really like it. To be honest, I didn't like my stepfather. I didn't like Sacramento. So I left home at 15, drove across the country on a learner's permit, and lived with my friend in his basement in Chandler, Indiana, and finished out high school. And I was working at Arby's at the time, and also had a fake ID, and I was selling booze to the high school students for a very inflated price. And one night at a football game, I had my trunk full of Zima, and I was drinking it as well in the car, thinking nobody knew what it was. And these cops came knocking on the window, and they're like, "Get out of the car." I got out, I got fucking scared, and then I started running away from my own car. And they were like, what? And so they tackled me in front of all the students and teachers. This was at a football game. And it was so embarrassing. I was taken to jail for the night and had to do a bunch of community service, was suspended from school. It just wasn't, my outlooks weren't looking so bright. So I finished up high school and I didn't know what to do. So I started working in the cornfields with Asgrow, basically cross-pollinating corn. So you take these tassels down and tap them in a little paper sack, and then take the paper sack and put it on another bit of corn. And that's what you would do all day for about $3.80 an hour. I was living on a board instead of a mattress between two other boards, so it sort of like caved in a little bit, so it felt like a mattress. It was, I didn't care, man. I was living with some friends, and I didn't know if I was gonna go to college. I didn't know what was up. So my friend said, like, look, I'm going to business school at Indiana University. You should do something with yourself rather than working in the cornfields. So I was like, all right. So I went to the interview, and it was it was pretty funny. I brought a friend to the university interview, and first of all, you don't do that, so don't do that. And then, I'm like, I brought my friend, and we're talking, and I lean back in my chair, and I bump this bookshelf, and it was like slow motion. I look back, and then all of a sudden I see this sculpture coming down, and it just shatters all over the floor. And the guy was like, don't worry about it. I mean, that was like Mesopotamian something, and I was just like, okay, I'm not gonna get into this school. I did miraculously. Finished up business school. My senior year, though, I took a painting class because I was like, well, I'm tired of being an adult, and I want to do something that I've always wanted to do again. And it was with this dude, Robert Barnes, and it was just life-changing, man. I just loved showing up to class, and he had pastries every morning, and the light in the studio was incredible. And I would just go to the library and like stack books into my backpack, and in my hands I'd have like 200 pounds of books going through campus. So then I eventually convinced the school that I was a transfer student from Ball State University, and the girl at the desk gave me a key to a studio, and so I was sort of like masquerading as an art student, and then I would go to the critiques at night, and it was rad, and I was just like, damn, this is what I should have done. But graduated, reality set in. I didn't have any money. Went back home briefly in Sacramento, and at the time my mom was living in this crazy place, and there was a drive-by, and I was like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get her out of here. So I looked in the back of Communication Arts magazine. Does that exist anymore? I have no idea. And just started like cold calling people, and found this place in Mountain View, California called NIA Creative. It stood for Not an Interesting Acronym, which is a decent name for a company. So I showed up for the interview. I'm living in some youth hostel in Mountain View now, and did the interview. It was like, that was solid. That's a solid interview. And I get a call the next day, and they're like, hey man, that was, it was nice to meet you, but we can't offer you the job. You don't like money enough. And I was like, because it was for a sales position. This company basically helped companies go public, IPOs, but it was kind of the marketing side of things. But like I ignored it, and I had met all the people in the company when I did the tour. So I just started showing up in the back to the production facilities, and I just was like, yeah, I'm here. Like, what do I do? So I just kind of did some odds and ends, and then everyone went on lunch, and the project managers worked in the back, and I was like, look, I'll just answer phones while you guys are on your lunch. And so I did. Eventually, like, someone asked me, like, do you even like work here? I worked there for like 2 months without a paycheck. It was like Office Space, that dude in the basement or whatever. Eventually one of the project managers had like a mental breakdown, and she quit. And so they had a job for me finally. And it was really like a bad salary that I negotiated for myself, but I didn't know. I'm from the Midwest. Like, whatever. And I was living at the time with like a kitchen tile salesman and somebody who worked at a bank and a programmer in Los Gatos. It was like a crazy scene, man. And the kitchen the kitchen tile salesman was so crazy. Like if you leave crumbs on the counter, he would literally sweep them off the counter onto a piece of paper and like arrange them, I think how they were on the counter, and then circle them and then put the piece of paper back and just write unacceptable underneath it. I mean, that was just bananas, dude. So I'm working this job, and then then I wanted to get back into painting. So at night, I was like taking painting classes at the junior college there in what was it called? De Anza Foothill College, with this dude Skip Cantwell. He was an ex-Special Forces Vietnam sergeant, and I was taking night class for like 2 years. And one day I showed up to class, and he's like, "Look, I got good news for you. I got you a scholarship to the San Francisco Art Institute." And I was like, "Oh, what do I do?" He's like, "You quit your job, bro, and you go to art school." And so I did. I quit. At my job, I brought my pet snake in there at one point, and I was feeding the snake in front of clients, like live mice. It was really kind of unacceptable. I was actually trying to get fired instead of quitting, but it was kind of like a split. It was like a fired quit, for quit. Everything went belly up after that. This was 2000, man. This was like the first .com boom. Everything went belly up. I'm living in a warehouse in Oakland, California, an old cookie factory with a bunch of kids, whatever, a mathematician, somebody in artificial intelligence, a car mechanic, a fashion designer, and then like a professional skateboarder. It was pretty wild, man. So I was going to the Art Institute, studying under these guys who really directed me from painting into performance. Harold Fletcher, John Rubin, and so I just started doing that stuff, man. I was like, after about a year, I quit. I was like, I got enough. Even though I had a scholarship, they tried to take it away. That school financially has always been a little dicey. So I quit, went on my own, man. And my first project out of there, I got a pack mule, and I had it to do my errands in San Francisco. It was called the Errand Feasibility Study. And so basically I had a mule that I did my errands on. It was just wild. You can see a lot of these videos on my Vimeo. It's vimeo.com/Marc Horowitz with a C. And so, yeah, I'm just going to look at my notes here. Sorry, guys. Yeah. So I did the Errand Feasibility Study, and then I had a friend that I did performances with. His name is John Brummett, and we reformed ourselves at this like fictitious business called Sliv and Dollett Enterprises. I was Bert Dollett, he was Kyle Sliv, and we had a show, and we sort of staffed the show with artists working as business people for our summer line of products and services. We had a fog removal initiative where we pitched the Golden Gate National Park on installing huge fans on the Golden Gate Bridge to blow the fog away so tourists could see the city and take clear photos. For example, we did like stuffed animal golf through the city. We had limousines and galleries. I don't know. It was crazy. We played music shows in Detroit. It was just noise music. I actually found the video the other day. I had all these videos transferred. It was bananas. But then the big project that I did was sort of following this other thing that I did, where I strung together 1,500 feet of extension cord from my kitchen to the park, and I hooked up a coffee maker, and I served free coffee every Saturday for about a year. But at the time, I was working as a photo assistant for Crate and Barrel and Williams-Sonoma, and we were in Chicago working for Crate and Barrel, and they asked me, like, what do you want to write on this dry erase board that was in this product shot? And I said, well, dinner with Mark, and then put my cell phone number underneath it. And whoever calls me, I'll take him out to dinner. I'll meet him or whatever. And so we did it. We thought it was going to just go away in post. But, 4 months later or whatever, I'm just kind of tooling around with a friend of mine in like thrift stores. And I get a call from this dude, Jake, in Overland Park, Kansas. And he's like, what's this dinner thing about? And I was like, oh, man. And then I got another call and another call and another call. And eventually, there was a representative from the Today Show that showed up at my house that was like, we want you to be on the show. So it just went bonkers. I was on the Today Show. I was in People Magazine as one of the most eligible bachelors. CNN, just blah, 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 blah. And then I had all these like, focus features, wanted to do a film, and then this person wanted to write a book and blah, blah. I eventually moved to LA after about a year after traveling around. I sold all my stuff, bought an RV. So I was living in an RV for about 2 years, and I got an agent in LA. I thought that was a cool sort of transition into like artertainment or something. And it was through William Morris Agency. I was their first digital client. And so it was kind of the beginning of like all these like miniature episodes and things like that on the web, like nascent stages of YouTube. And they were like, do whatever you want to do. Just pitch whatever you want to pitch. So I pitched all these crazy ideas, and Sony bought one where I signed my signature on a map of the United States, and then I drove that route. And then along the way, I did these projects, and that back there is one of them. I had an anonymous semi-nudist colony where you could either take your pants or your shirt off in a park and wear a ski mask. And it was our little nudist colony, or anonymous semi-nudist colony. Anyhow, whatever. I did some spoof on the Techno Viking called Junkyard Viking. So I just kept moving along, kept doing stuff, and then kind of after that, I did like a broadcast of my life for 3 months through this defunct now Ustream.tv, I think is what it was, and it was from Groundhog's Day, or it was from Election Day to Groundhog's Day. It was around the time Obama got elected, and that was just chaos. Did I enjoy that? I don't know. But then after that, I did another sort of road trip project where my friend and I, Peter Baldas, and I drove from LA to his hometown, or where he lives now in Richmond, Virginia, exclusively on Google Maps. So we get on Google Maps, you zoom in, you just press the arrow keys, and you drive across the US very slowly. And it would be faster at night because no one's really on much, and so you have like a higher bandwidth, so you could drive faster. So we drive a lot at night, but it took 9 real days. And so what happened after this? Oh yeah, I received a couple grants. I mean, this stuff is just, it's not going to make you a killing. So I received some grants. I had a show at Louis Vuitton in Paris and a show at the Hayward Museum in London. And I was just really scrapping it together still. But I wanted to go to grad school, and I went to USC for grad school. I was accepted there, and the entertainment thing was weird with William Morris. It was getting strange. I was too far in the lion's mouth. So we parted ways, William Morris and I went to USC. And at the time, I got a grant from Creative Time in New York for a project where it was called The Advice of Strangers. And I lived for a month according to the advice of strangers, like all my decision making. At one point I was like voted to rob a bank with my mom. It didn't really happen though, but it was, I don't know if you should put that much control in strangers' hands. It was too weird. But yeah, so after grad school was basically an intellectual sweat lodge. I mean, it was tough for me. It was really, really hard coming from like business school and just kind of scrapping everything together, being more of a survivalist than an intellectual. It was tough. After school, I started a cryptocurrency of my own called Hcoin. And I'll put cryptocurrency in quotes because it was a currency that was based on my mood, productivity, and sales. So I didn't put these values, and they would drive the price of it down. And you would mine it by playing Snake. Did it work? Not really. But the whole thing about it was I wanted to sort of take back control for artists, to take back control from the gallery system, from collectors, buyers, and they would get paid first through a currency, and then they would pay out from there. And I wanted to expand it, but it was like, do I want to be this like, a tech business Mark, or do I want to be artist Mark? So I wanted to be artist Mark. So then I sort of like got back into painting, in fact, and I've been painting for like the last 6 years, since 2015, which is what I wanted to do for so long, but I was like, I never had a studio. I was sort of scared to do it. I don't know. It's where I started, and I took a real big curve through performance and like internet work and tech work. But going back to painting was amazing, and that's still where I am. But I will say, my friend called me and he was like, "Yo, so this thing, my friend is running Delphi. You would work well on it." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I wanted to explore it, and we talked about it, and it just got me pretty, I don't know, amped. I mean, I hate that word, but it got me like super jazzed on making videos again and performance and like doing like conceptual projects that are outside of like 2D, even like some 3D sculpture world. And so that's kind of why I'm doing this NFT. This first one is a tile painting. It reveals layers as you go up the curve. And the next ones are going to be super interesting as well. I'm looking forward to the future of this space. I mean, I like it because it takes control back to the artists, and it really offers them interesting opportunities to sort of expand their practice. I won't say as much for like the lazy NFTs. I think there's a lot of lazy, money-hungry fools out there right now. But for like the real deal artists who like really want to explore this space and the technology, I think it's really cool, and you're gonna start to see a lot of really cool projects. I'll wrap it up. This is such a long video. If you want to go to my site, it's 1833 Marchive, MARCIVE, and you can call that 1833 number, and you can hear me talk about the work, etc., etc. I don't know. I think that covers it. Hit me up if you have questions. I'll be around. Okay, bye.